Welcome everyone, Ogaz here to talk a little bit about the development of UKKM. Antonov-2, aka Hostomel, aka Antonov International Airport, and there's about 4 or 5 names that this airport goes by, but I've just stuck with the Antonov as the traditional name here for Antonov International. And as you can see, we've actually created 8 spawn points for your flighting pleasure, and these ramps are all military and cargo ramps. Of course, we've got the number 1 being the spawn point for the AN225. So I thought we'd take a look at some of the features of the map. I'm going to jump in now on a buggy, a baggage buggy, so we can drive around the airport a little bit and take you on somewhat of a tour on what to expect. Alright, so we have arrived at hangar number 2. This is the hangar that's directly opposite the AN225. And I've actually included here on the right the second AN225 cockpit and, fuselage, I suppose, that is there available. It's actually not at the actual Hostomel, it's actually at, I think it's at Antonov number 1 airport in Ukraine. But I thought I really liked the look of it. I just thought it looked really great. So I was able to model that and then texture it and bring it in, and it is something there. There's a little bit of an Easter egg in the front. If some of you are curious, you can take a look at that. Anyway, as I said, this is hangar number 2, and what we've done here is, this is nighttime at the moment. Between the hours of 8 AM and 8 PM, the hangar doors are open, but they are closed before 8 AM and closed after 8 PM. Which is where we are now. You can choose to change the time if you wish, or you can use the hide throttle function to engage the doors. I'm just going to go with the time function for now. If I change this just to past 8 o'clock, the doors will open for us. If you're in an airplane, you can also use the hide throttle option, and that will make the doors active and therefore open. But we're in a buggy, so we're not going to be using the hide throttle option for now. Let's take a look. This is hangar number 2, and I thought I'd take you over to the AN225. Now this here is the static model of the Antonov AN225. This model stays here permanently. However, it will despawn if you choose to use this spawn point for your AnyBuilds AN225 or for any aircraft of your choice. So feel free to do that, and that means you'll obviously replace this aircraft. If you do not though, if you spawn anywhere else in the airport, the AN225 static model, it's a low poly model. It's not as great as the AnyBuilds, but it'll do, and it stays there permanently. So that's just a little idea I thought would be great. It's kind of like the spiritual home. I think it's quite symbolic, and I like the idea that she's always there overlooking Hostomel. But as I said, if you spawn there yourself, feel free, you'll take place of the AN225 automatically, and it will actually disappear from the hangar when you do that. We've got some Guardsmen on site here, as you can see. I've animated and put some of these Guardsmen across different parts of the airport. They are not traditional Guardsmen in the sense that their uniforms are mostly military, as you can see, but they do represent the Guardsmen, and some of the icons, if you look at their symbols, their badges, some of the insignias that were visible on the Guardsmen that were repairing and doing the cleanup work and security for the Hostomel airport beyond the Battle of Hostomel. So I thought I'd include some of those guys in a sort of post invasion construct, and that's why I've decided to have them present. They don't do a lot, they just sort of sit there and talk and have deep and meaningful conversations, as you can see. These two guys, I don't know what they're talking about, but this guy's having a deep conversation. Anyway, let's keep moving. I'm just going to go over here. We've got some broken AN2s that I've built on this side, and I've just put them here. In the real hangar, there's actually, you might have seen something happen there. I've just quickly turned around for a moment. Where has she gone? Now what you'll notice is my buggy has actually entered the spawn area of the aircraft. So that's why the AN225 has now just disappeared off the face of the earth. That's by design. So yeah, anyway, that's an example of what would happen if you were to spawn in with your aircraft of choice. Over here we've got the AN2s. As I was saying before, in the real hangar there was actually 2 Cessnas in here prior to the attack on Hostomel. I don't have any Cessna models handy on me, and I'd already been building the AN2, so I figured let's just make them AN2s. I think they're a pretty close resemblance, and I think they're a bit more on theme with where we are. This is the interior of the main hangar. The night effect is really nice. I spent a lot of time trying to build these lights and get a bit of a nice night effect, and if you change it to nighttime, you'll get that nice effect there that really, I think, makes the AN225 look great. If you've got the inner builds plane, guys, seriously get it. I know it's $20, it all goes to Ukraine, but man, the plane is excellent, and it really does look great, and we'll take a look at that maybe later on in sim. Let's keep going on our little tour. I'm just going to change back to day because this night's not going to be very fun for seeing what we want to see. Alright, let's take a look over here. And we head towards hangar number 2, or hangar 3 technically, I suppose, which is over here, and it's attached to the tower, and typically not used necessarily for aircraft, but what I've done here is just taken this spot and really converted it into a 3rd hangar. So if you wanted to use that for departures, the same theme applies for the 1st hangar as the 2nd, with the doors automated to 8 AM to 8 PM, or as I said, if you join before or after those times, you can use the high throttle function to reveal and animate those doors. Let's keep moving through the tour of Hostomel. We've got animated flags there. I thought I would enjoy that. Also there you'll notice we've got the actual floodlights that are designed based on what I saw in the photographs from Hostomel. They're not perfect. They're the best interpretation I could get from rough pictures, and that was the biggest challenge with this airport. There were a lot of pictures, but mostly rough and ambiguous, and yeah, it was hard to get really good shots of what a lot of the airport looked like. Outside of air shows, where air shows often, took part at Hostomel. So we did our best with that, and as you can see on the left here, if we look at the left side, you'll see the main tower, and we'll go up there with the dev camera later on, and you'll be able to see some of the details inside the main tower there. All right, moving along on this tour of Hostomel, we're going to go see my good friend the AN22. Which is just, I love this airplane. I think it's just stunning. It truly is a work of art. And I was able to animate, I just thought a bit of animation there with the propellers. It might be not for everyone, but I just thought I liked the idea of a bit of activity on the tarmac, and that's kind of why I went with that, and thought I'd give it to life. I put it in the Antonov Ukrainian colors there, and I gave it a little bit of cargo, which is typical of the type of cargo that it may carry. Don't forget that Hostomel is not a typical commercial airport. It's a very much a testing / cargo / military based airport. I mean, prior to the 80s, it was purely military driven, and Antonov really sort of changed the plan of attack, post 89, and we started to see obviously the designs and the commercialization of cargo and other parts of the airport open up. But it is still very much a cargo military / testing place, and you're not going to see commercial aircraft spawning here. I've purposely set out ramps that sort of don't really involve most commercial jetliners and stuff like that. So if you do spawn in, then you'll probably be one of the few that's using an airliner of sorts, but obviously you can still do that. Notice here I've also got these little boards. I felt with the creation of some of these aircraft with the Antonov design, I thought maybe if we gave it a bit of a museum-like love, I suppose. And so I thought if we create these little boards here, and I've tried to put these next to a lot of the craft that are based at Hostomel, and especially the ones that were there previous to the attack on the airport. It's a bit of a history, and that'll be part of the other aircraft as well. Let's keep going around here. We might as well, while we're facing this way, go check out my good friend, the Antonov AN70. Become very close friends with these aircraft in the design process. Note that none of these aircraft are flyable and some of them are a bit rough, please forgive me. They're not the most detailed aircraft. They're certainly not up there with what a lot of your aircraft designers are doing these days for Flight Simulator. They're just basic static models. They have some complexity to them. Most of the complexity comes through the animation. I like this one here. I've brought in the Guardsmen, and I figured maybe we can have an opening sequence here for the tank. I just thought it would add a bit of character, not any particular agenda or reason here, of course. Yeah, if you do set it to 8 o'clock or 8 p.m., 8 a.m., you will see the tank emerge or hide as it does its retreat back up into the ramp there. So we're going to make our way to the other side of the main taxiway that you'll see here of Hostomel, and on the other part of Hostomel Airport over here is the AN124, my good friend. I think I spent over, I don't know, 3 months on this thing, and it was fun, but I did get a bit sick of it after a while, I must admit. And as you can see here, the AN124 is the, well, technically the little brother, I suppose, of the AN225. It's a smaller plane, but nonetheless, it is a massive aircraft. And I thought I'd add a little bit of personality here with a tractor and tank. Copped a bit of feedback for that one, but I don't know. I'm just doing it in good fun. I just think it's rather interesting that tractors are across the world driving tanks around. I just find that rather interesting. So I thought I'd include that as a bit of an Easter egg there. Of course, the heat comes out of the aircraft when you open and close it, and once again, that's also synced to the time sequence of the morning night. So if you do 8 a.m., you'll find that the ramp will start to close. And I spent a lot of time trying to get this right to copy what I saw at the airport of the original AN124. Again, it's a bit, you can see I've kind of hidden things in the geometry there. This is not complex animation, but it does the trick. And again, certainly nothing like what Indie Builds has been doing with their 225. Anyway, that's the AN124, and it is here on display for your perusal at any time, and with a bit of a museum display stand that I've put there as well, and some personality from our good friend in the tractor. Okay, let's make our way back over to the rest of the tarmac. This is the sort of main section, and there is a aircraft spawn point down here as well that I've put at the end. But if you take a look down here, it's basically an alleyway of amazing aircraft. We've got the AN30, we've got the AN74 here with its, I mean, look at those ears. Those ears are incredible, and they look so strange, but it is a wonderful aircraft. The AN74, the AN30 over here on the right. I love this thing. Again, I love the navigation windows of these craft. I just find they're so interesting, and this journey's been really insightful for me to really explore the different designs of the Soviet era, and the different design thinking versus the West. It's probably not new to some of you guys who are massive flight nerds, but to me, to be honest, it was kind of refreshing and an interesting journey. So that's the AN30 there, and the AN74 behind us. There's the Mi-6 helicopter that was also one of these at Hostomel at some points. So I saw some pictures of one of those there. I think it was at one point on the tarmac. We've got the jet here, the AN148, which is actually a super diverse jet. It has its own stairwell. It has its own navigation systems and some really specific radio technologies that allowed it to basically land and do anything where it needed to go. The research behind that plane has been super interesting. But in fact, all of the Antov philosophy, it really is design a plane that can land anywhere. And I got to respect that. These planes are versatile. They're humble. They're different in their design, but they're very capable to be able to land on an old dirt strip or regular tarmac. And I think that's a interesting sort of history around the Antonov designs. We've got an AN30 here. Got a little bit of cargo at the back here. I thought I'd stick a little crate round here with a bit of a Slava Ukraini. if that does tickle your fancy. And we keep going around here. Once again, these are all static. None of these are flyable. I'm sorry. It's not my plan. It's not my agenda. We've got, of course, the complete AN2 along with its display board and a bit of history that you can actually read about if you're curious on the AN2, and a wonderful workhorse this thing was. Hey, great history behind that airplane as well. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of airplanes here, and I've got a lot of feedback from people sort of saying, well, look, it's very busy, Shane. Like, it's awfully noisy. What's the deal with that? And my answer to you is to go to Google Maps and take a look. This is a representation of a lot of the aircraft that were on the tarmac prior to the attack on Hostomel. And there are a lot of airplanes here that are, some were based and stationed here, some were flew in frequently, some flew frequently, and some were spare parts, or in disrepair. And I tried to recreate that over here. We've got a 124, a 74, and I think that's a 22 in the back there. Yeah, two AN22s over here on the left, and they're all in different states of disrepair. And I thought that'd be a good way of representing different parts of the tarmac. But I have to admit, I did enjoy tearing those models apart after constructing them and then tearing them down to sort of create this effect. And if you check out Google Maps, you'll be able to see from top, it's very much sort of spare parts and whatnot. Anyway, if we keep on the tour, we go further up here, and you'll notice there's a ramp here. So I've actually put a ramp right here. You can spawn in here on your aircraft. And my idea as this was that if you have one here, you can kind of, it's almost like a guard of honor, I suppose, or like the museum walk, where you can see the craft that are on display. So that's I think it's the third ramp of 8 that I've put in here. On the right up here, we've got the AN2 once again. There's another version, the it's a 74, I think, isn't it? Yes, it is. And of course, the jet that we looked at further. And we've got the AN70 up here on the right, which is similar to the one that we have on the other side. So Hostomel's not a very big airport. That's the major parts of the taxiways and whatnot. Of course, the runway over here is runway 33 and 15 on opposite ends. The taxiway leads out to here to taxiway A, and there is actually a second taxiway further up. There's a separate lane that's actually closed in real life up the other end of the airport. I've actually opened that up for the purpose of this airport functionality. When I was trying it out, it made more sense. So typically over here, you'll find this is closed off in real life with the X there. But I have opened that up, so it's an option if you're coming in to land. Sometimes I would find that I was missing the first turn. So if you land in and you weren't able to get the first, you might be able to get to the second. So that's why I reopened that. But other than that, the runway is fairly straightforward. Nothing too dramatically different from other runways. But that is Hostomel, or Hostomel, or Antonov 2, or Antonov International Airport, whatever floats your boat. A couple of the features that I've thrown in actually relate to the additional services. So some wonderful staff members, Alert Lars and Operant Stekovsky, I think it is, or Stavrovsky, were really gracious with their time, gave out pictures, and really gave me some insights into some parts of the airport that I just couldn't get into in terms of photos on Google. And it was great just to get a lay of the land, particularly from Alert Lars, and I was very, very appreciative. One part over here is actually a route that I've set up, a bus route for the buses for the staff at the airport. So if you come down here, you'll actually see them in the distance there, just getting away from me, but we'll try and chase them down. And over here is 2 staff buses. They are the LAZ 695 buses that are in Ukraine, and they run a loop basically 24/7, and they loop back and forward between the airport and the front access administration gate. So what we'll do, we'll keep following these buses. Well, we'll just follow the route. They're a bit slow for me, so we're going to go past them, and we're going to see the main entrance to Hostomel, which is actually just down this road. So we're going to take a look at that right now. I'm going to just drive through this gate, but that gate does open. That is open. It opens up for the buses when they come around. So this is the main car park area, and over there are the apartments where some of the staff to the airport actually reside, or did reside for Hostomel. There's a little tennis court and a basketball court and a little park and a few things here in terms of the overall airport. But as I say, the main gate that we're looking at just over here is the main entrance to the airport and where the buses come in and out for Hostomel. We have the sign there to say no other name carries more weight than Antonov, which indeed it does. The thing that I really wanted to show you, of course, is the time shift preview that some of you probably have seen in the preview trailer and perhaps in the launch trailer that we dropped today. And of course that relates to the hangar itself. It's a function that means you can simply change the date in the game. If you change the date to February 24th, which you'll see here, February 24th, 2022, you will find the time shift feature kicks in, and it's a memorial. It's bittersweet, I suppose. I considered not putting this in after testing it because I felt as if what the hangar had become was not representative of what it should have been, if that makes sense. And so yeah, to me it's something of a mural or a memorial, something to experience. I thought it was just something very visual, and it's powerful, and it's upsetting, but it is a big part of the history of Hostomel now, sadly. You know, you guys can of course experience this if you change the date. But I elected, of course, to leave that as just a date. So that's just the one day in the, not the calendar year, but in the actual event on 2022, where you'll see it like this. But as I said, in a regular day, any other day, it'll return to normal as I think it should be remembered and considered for time to come. Much it in terms of Hostomel. As I said, it's not a big airport, but I've tried to include some features, some history, and I guess something that represents, I think, what Hostomel should be, even though right now it certainly doesn't look you know, as it once was. So if there's one way we can experience what it was, obviously Microsoft Flight Simulator allows us to do that, and it's awesome to, I guess, be part of that vision that started 12 months ago with just a lowly hangar over here. It was a lowly hangar and a Reddit post, and became something much bigger over the last 13 months. So anyway, very reassuring. Thank you all for your support. If you do grab this, it is available via Orbex for $10 USD, and 10% will go to the fund to help rebuild the Antonov. And it will also be added to the Microsoft Flight Simulator store. It is on queue for that, but that can take some time, as some of you might know. So I wouldn't expect that probably for a couple of months, but it is definitely hopefully going to appear there soon. But for now, you can grab it via the Orbex store and via the Orbex app. So guys, thank you so much for your support. Please join us in the Discord. Come shout out, say hello, share your screenshots, let me know what you think, features, ideas, suggestions. I've had a lot of fun building this, and I hope you guys will be able to enjoy it. So thank you again, and I'll speak to you on the Discords and on the YouTubes.